Some games don't just fade away, they get buried deep beneath the sands of time. Lost worlds, untold stories, and unfinished journeys forgotten by many, but desperately waiting for a second chance. Today, we uncover 5 forgotten games that time tried to erase, but fans still cry out for a remaster. These aren't just any games. These are buried treasures, desperate to be unearthed and reborn. If you love uncovering hidden gaming mysteries and stories left untold, subscribe to ContraBrosTeam now. And don't forget to check out our other channel, RetroListHQ, where we spotlight even more forgotten classics and retro hidden gems every week. Stick around. The full story behind these buried games is one you won't want to miss. In 1999, as the golden age of PlayStation was peaking, a game emerged that dared to rival giants. A game that blended ancient dragons, political betrayal, and the fate of an entire world. This was The Legend of Dragoon, Sony's forgotten epic. Released near the end of the PlayStation's life cycle, Legend of Dragoon was Sony's answer to Final Fantasy VII. But instead of sci-fi and mechs, this world was filled with dragons, divine spirits, and something called Dragoon spirits. It wasn't just a JRPG, it was a cinematic experience. For discs, full CGI cutscenes, a deep combat system that forced players to master timed attacks known as additions. Critics called it a Final Fantasy clone. Some dismissed the story as cliché. But beneath the surface, players found something different. A world of ancient gods, reincarnated dragons, and one of the most shocking mid-game betrayals of the PS1 era. A world of ancient gods, reincarnated dragons, and one of the most shocking mid-game betrayals of the PS1 era. This was a story about fate, sacrifice, and the thin line between humanity and godhood. And it still ends on a note that fans continue to debate decades later. Today, Legend of Dragoon is a cult legend. Emulators and PSN re-releases have kept it barely alive, but fans have never stopped asking the same thing. Where is the remaster? Why did Sony bury their most ambitious fantasy epic in time? Legend of Dragoon wasn't just forgotten, it was buried. And now, more than ever, it deserves to rise again. In 2010, EA tried something bold. They took one of the most sacred pieces of Western literature, Dante Alighieri's Inferno, and turned it into a violent, visceral video game. And somehow it worked. Dante's Inferno was hell, literally, and that's why it's one of the most unforgettable, yet buried, games of its generation. You play not as a poet, but as a crusader, a man twisted by guilt, rage, and war. The game opens with Dante stitching a holy cross into his own flesh, a symbol of his sins and his salvation. He descends into hell to rescue the soul of his beloved Beatrice, stolen by Lucifer himself. The 9 circles weren't just levels, they were disturbing, twisted interpretations of medieval sin. Lust was a storm of naked bodies, screaming in eternal torment. Gluttony was a churning pit of bile and monstrous worms. Greed, a gold-obsessed horde of sinners crushed by their own desires. The combat was brutal, a clear nod to God of War. But the lore, that's where Dante's Inferno went deeper. Each enemy was symbolic, each boss a twisted mirror of Dante's past. This wasn't a hack and slash, it was an exorcism of guilt that the church couldn't absolve. The game wasn't afraid to offend. It challenged religious dogma, confronted the horrors of the Crusades, and dared to paint Dante himself as a sinner. But not everyone was ready. Critics were split. Some saw depth. Others dismissed it as a God of War knockoff. A planned trilogy was scrapped. A Paradiso sequel never happened. And Dantes Inferno was quietly sealed away. But players never forgot. Over the years, forums, Reddit, YouTube comments, all asking, where's the sequel? Why no remaster? How did a game this bold vanish? In a world flooded with safe reboots, Dantes Inferno stands alone. A raw, risky, spiritual descent into madness and redemption. A story half told, a trilogy never finished. In 2025, the call for a remaster isn't just wishful thinking. It's justice for one of gaming's boldest forgotten epics. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're one of the believers hoping for a return, you're not alone. There's a quiet place forgotten by time. A sleepy Irish village where the dead whisper just beneath the surface. In 2007, Folklore was released on the PlayStation 3, and almost immediately it vanished. But for those who found it, this wasn't just a game. It was a portal to the netherworld. You played as two strangers drawn to Doolin by death. Ellen, a young woman searching for her lost mother. Keats, a journalist investigating paranormal events for a mystery magazine. But Doolin was just the beginning. Beneath, it were 6 realms of the dead. Forests haunted by forgotten gods. Clockwork castles guarded by dolls with hollow eyes. Oceans filled with memories that refused to die. Combat wasn't brutal. It was elegant, ghostly. You collected the souls of spirits, called folk, and used their abilities to fight. Every enemy you faced became part of your arsenal. Every spirit had a story and a death. Folklore wasn't loud. It didn't scream for your attention. It whispered. It invited you to listen, to the stories of the dead, to folklore long buried, to sorrow unspoken. But here's the thing. In 2007, the PS3 was struggling. Big studios were chasing realism, shooters, and big budgets. And Folklore? It was a poetic Gothic tale, wrapped in mist and metaphor. Critics admired its beauty, but few understood it. Marketing was minimal. The game barely released outside of Japan and North America. And online support, which included side quests and expansions, was lost with the PS3 servers. Over time, Folklore became ghost-like, a game no one played, but everyone remembered. A title that now feels like a vision, vivid, fragile, and fading with every passing generation. But maybe it's time for Folklore to return. With today's focus on horror, storytelling, and artful indie hits, Folklore fits better now than it ever did before. What about you? Did you ever walk the foggy shores of Doolin? Or is Folklore just a dream you've yet to remember? Let us know in the comments. Should Folklore be reborn for a new generation? Because some games weren't forgotten, they were waiting.
Editorial Department, Unknown Realm magazine.
Help me. These very...
Imagine waking up in a version of New York where the Soviets won the Cold War, the American flag replaced, the streets patrolled by tanks, and you, a plumber named Chris Stone, suddenly find yourself leading a guerrilla uprising. In 2003, IO Interactive, yes, the same studio behind Hitman, released Freedom Fighters, and what they delivered was one of the most underrated tactical action games of the 6th generation. The genius of Freedom Fighters wasn't just in its setting, it was how it made you feel like a leader. You earned charisma by completing missions and rescuing prisoners, each point letting you recruit more fighters to your cause. With just a button press, you could order your squad to take cover, attack, or flank. And unlike many games of the era, they actually listened. But this wasn't just a shooter. Freedom Fighters was a statement, a game about resistance, about fighting for freedom block by block, sewer to rooftop. The narrative didn't hold back either. False flag invasions, political manipulation, and moral ambiguity. It felt like Red Dawn meets Metal Gear Solid, and for early 2000s players, it hit hard. Critics loved it, players adored it, and yet, no sequel ever came. A planned follow-up, even rumored to explore an expanded resistance movement, was quietly shelved. IO focused on Hitman, and Freedom Fighters became just that, a ghost of potential. In 2020, the game finally returned, re-released on PC after nearly 20 years in exile. But it wasn't a remaster, just a quiet nod, a whisper from the past. In an era where games love to retell history, why not revive one that rewrote it entirely? What do you think? Does Freedom Fighters deserve to make its comeback? Could this guerrilla uprising finally find its second wind? Let us know in the comments, because sometimes freedom needs to fight twice. What happens when the world ends and nature takes it back? In 2010, Ninja Theory, the same studio behind Heavenly Sword and later Hellblade, released a game that few understood at the time, but those who played it never forgot it. Enslaved, Odyssey to the West reimagined a 400-year-old Chinese novel, Journey to the West, as a post-apocalyptic sci-fi epic. You play as Monkey, a savage yet intelligent loner, and she's Trip, a tech-savvy prisoner who enslaves you with a hacked headband. Her command is your survival. It's not just action, it's not just platforming, it's a bond, a forced trust. Trip can't survive without Monkey's strength, and Monkey can't live without obeying Trip's commands. It's The Last of Us, before The Last of Us. The world of Enslaved wasn't just dead, it was reborn. Cities overrun with green, machines rusting in silence, a planet where humanity is the echo and AI is the predator. The story turns slowly into something deeper, questions about control, free will, and the cost of peace. The climax, a twist that divided players, but stuck in their minds. A bittersweet ending. Quiet, devastating, beautiful. And yet, Enslaved was a critical darling, but a commercial ghost. It sold under expectations. The planned sequel was scrapped, and now, it's digital only on last-gen platforms. No remaster, no return. The story was ahead of its time. The gameplay, cinematic. The art, breathtaking. But it came too soon and vanished too fast. Do you remember Enslaved? Or has it become just another myth in the ruins of gaming history? Should this forgotten journey rise again, remastered for a new generation? We want to hear your voice. And if you love hidden gems like this, don't forget to subscribe for more storytelling deep dives into forgotten games. And if you're craving more classics lost to time, visit our sister channel, RetroListHQ, where we uncover the obscure, the overlooked, and the unforgettable. Stay curious, stay legendary. And don't forget, some stories are worth fighting to remember.